I'm Jeff Broberg. I'm a licensed professional geologist, and I've been interested in the science and culture of water for a long time. I've come to this line 3 over the last year, and let's have the next slide. I've learned some important lessons. As I was starting this, really working on the Clearbrook Aquifer breach, I wanted to consult with some native elders, and I had a really profound lesson on the origin story and how important water was to the Anishinaabe. And an important thing, the elder asked me, "Do you like the sound of water?" And of course I do. And he made the point, he said, you know, we're all connected through that. These are songs and prayers, and everything hears it. The rocks, the animals, we all hear it the same. And it's something that connects us all. So that's how it started. And I thought back to my mother. My mom was born in Danbury, Wisconsin, near the Fond du Lac, and we had a lot of important Native friends, and we were taught something way back. Next slide. That water was the first medicine. Whenever I was a kid and was sick, my grandmother first gave me water. And it's indicative of that connection that we have here. So next slide. Today's purpose gets complicated, and we want to unravel that complication. We have construction damages that aren't apparent. They're hidden from public view in remote places. We're going to show you new looks at things that people have not seen yet outside of our group. And we want to show you the power of a partnership and the power of citizen science and people working in a common goal for advocacy to protect our water and seek that accountability. Let's have the next slide. This first started with water protectors and people going out on the site during the construction, like on the left, and watching the site, drone videos and actual on the ground holding space and looking at this and finding these large spots where the drilling mud was coming up to the surface on the right-hand side. Many months after the construction had been removed, we're still seeing upwelling mud in these areas, and that was our first concern. But it brought up an opportunity to do some high-tech science, things that I was familiar with, remote sensing, infrared photography. And it's an important tool because it measures the temperature of the ground. You can see the energy of the water. The temperature always comes out at 45 degrees from the ground. And then if the surrounding ground's frozen, you get a profile. If the surrounding is warm in the summer, you get a profile. And partners agreed to pay over $50,000 to fly the entire site, one end to the other, from 3,000 feet, a swath a half a mile wide, so that we could see the natural conditions and the disturbance of the pipeline. The next slide. And what we discovered during this, it took a while to evaluate all of this data. It was over 3 terabytes of data. Don't try this at home. We found 45 sites where we had emerging groundwater right on the pipeline. And yet only 3 of them were really being discussed. Let's have the next slide. Here's an image from a high view of what this looks like. The red spots in the upper left here are the aquifer breach and the water that they're disturbing from that aquifer breach at Clearbrook. And we can see the natural occurrences, the hot water upwelling in Deep Lake. So we're learning science about the area and what the damage is on the pipeline. So the thermal imaging is the right tool at the right time that allows us to see that energy of the earth. And we were able to use that to target our investigations. The next slide, please. In Waadookawaad Amikwag was formed, and this group of dedicated people said, let's get trained in the science and the collection, and let's go out to the site with our drones, and wherever it's accessible and we're not trespassing, let's find these sites. And we gave them GIS coordinates. And Jackie and Dawn and so many of the others went right out to those spots and saw what we could see from remote sensing and could document this and collect, make field notes and make observations of things like upwelling sinkholes in the middle of areas that are right on top of the pipeline. The next slide. We formed to witness this and to document the damage and discover the permanent damage on these 45 sites that cross all the way across Minnesota. You think of what this has done. It's a curtain of excavation and filling across the entire headwaters of the Laurentian Divide. The Red River, the north, the Mississippi, the St. Louis is all affected here. Next slide. And what we found is there's three types of damage that have occurred. There's deep excavations like had happened at Clearbrook. There were sheet pile installations where they piled those steel sheets down 30 feet that penetrated artesian aquifers that burst the water to the surface, and frac-outs. The next slide. And what we've done is put together partnerships. I looked back on my email today and saw that my first communication was September 28th, a year ago. In a year, Waadookawaad has put together a group of people focused on documenting what was not supposed to happen, was promised not to happen, frac-outs, low risks, permanent damage was not supposed to exist. This is a story of dedication while we wonder why the state isn't doing the work. Thank you, Hayes.